In this video, I will explain how Booleans work in Blender. I will explain it using the basic cubes so it's easier to follow along. First, let me duplicate this cube by pressing Shift D and then move it in the x-axis by pressing X. Or scale this cube by pressing S and moving your mouse. To use the Boolean modifier in Blender, you will need two objects. One object will act as the cutter, whereas the other will be the main object. You don't need to apply any modifiers on this cutter object. Only the main object will have the Boolean modifier. In that Boolean modifier, we can select the cutter. You don't need to apply the Boolean modifier to this cutter object. First, let me add the Boolean modifier to this main cube. Click on the wrench icon and then click on Add Modifier. Search Boolean. You won't be seeing anything happening. That's because we haven't selected this cutter. So let me select it. That cutter is named Cube1. For easy reference, I just rename it as Boolean cutter. We can click on the default cube, which is our main cube here, and then select the Boolean cutter. You will not see any difference even now. This is because both these objects are not interacting. I'll move the cutter towards this main mesh by pressing G and locking it on the x-axis by pressing X. It went inside, but you can't see what it's doing. You can't really see what's happening here. So let me hide this cutter. Now you can see it has cutter code into the main mesh. If I go to edit mode, since we have not applied this modifier yet, if I select the main cube now and head to the edit tab by pressing tab, you can see the original topology, original mesh. Because we have not applied this modifier yet, if I press tab again, you can see the difference. In object mode, by selecting the main cube, if I click on this arrow mark and then click apply, now if I head to the edit mode by pressing tab, you can see the change the Boolean modifier has made. It has cut a hole into this cube. Using this cutter, if I press Ctrl plus Z 3 times, we will be back before applying this modifier. The main reason to use the Boolean modifier is because of its non-destructive nature. Now what do I mean by non-destructive is, if I make this object visible again by clicking on the eye icon and then select that object by clicking on it, so I'm moving this object on the Z-axis by pressing G and then clicking on Z to lock the Z-axis. Now if I hide it, you can see the cut happens in a different location and it gives a different shape. Say if I were to do this manually to this cube, by pressing on tab, I enter the edit mode and then choose the face mode, and then I press I to insert. Move the mouse towards the desired location. This seems fine to me. Now if I press E and move it inside, I can almost make the same result as the previous one. But the problem with this is, now if I move past the undo limit, I won't be able to move this or make modifications like this one and move it around as I wish. This will change the mesh completely. The same will be true if I were to apply this modifier like I did previously. But since we are not applying it, this cutter can be moved anywhere to make the desired shape. So this is truly flexible and useful. The Boolean modifier has three main operations. The cutting operation you are seeing here is called difference. Difference will remove the common area for both the objects. In here, the main object and the cutter object has this part as common, which is intersecting. So this part will be removed. Now I will unhide this Boolean cutter and switch to the union mode. Union will add the two meshes at the intersecting point. Here you can see this mesh is intersecting this mesh at this point, its corner. So it will weld the two objects in this corner. When two objects exist in the same place, you will see glitches like this. But we have only one cutter. This is happening because the operations we perform will not affect the cutter. It will only affect the main mesh. Since we added the shape of the cutter into the main mesh, the main mesh has the shape and also the cutter has the shape. Now if I hide this Boolean cutter, you can see the main mesh also has the same shape and it has been welded in this location, in this corner where they are intersecting, like the same way as the difference modifier. If I now apply this, then head to the edit mode by clicking on it. We can see both the objects are seamlessly welded at the intersection point. Vectors are not important after used. After you apply the modifier, you can delete them or remove them from the project. Since the original changes will be made to the real mesh or the main mesh that you are using. In this case, we are using this cube as the main mesh. Now I will undo everything until I see the modifier here. Now I'll show you how the intersect method works. First, I will unhide the Boolean cutter again and then switch to intersect mode. You can see the main mesh has disappeared. That's because the intersect mode will subtract the mesh that is not common to both the objects. You can see the overlap is happening here. Just as usual, the Boolean cutter will be safe. You can hide it, but the main mesh will have been modified. This is the common path for both the Boolean cutter and the main mesh. So other parts will be subtracted. Again, you can clearly see this after I apply this by selecting on this part and then clicking on apply. Only this part will remain and I will hide the Boolean cutter. After I undo that, until the modifier appears again, when your project gets more complex, when you have multiple cutters, here we have only one cutter, but if I have to add multiple cutters, I'll switch the modifier to union and then add another mesh. You don't have to follow this. Now we have two cutters here. And it's already taking a lot of space. Imagine multiple modifiers being applied left and right to add details to your mesh. That will make things more complex. That will fill your collection with multiple cutters, and it will be confusing to see what's what, which is the real mesh and which are the other objects and which are the cutters. So to avoid this confusion, you can move these cutters to different collections. I'll select both of these by clicking on Control and then clicking on both of them. Now if I press M and then assign them to your collection, you can simply hide them. You can hide all the mesh booleans at the same time, and then you can keep them organized inside here. Or if you have finished applying the modifiers, you can just delete them. There is an extension that comes with Blender by default. You just have to activate it. It's called Booltool. It will make things easier for you. If you can't find it in the extensions tab, you can click on the add-ons tab and then install it here. Head to edit and preferences. This is the name of the add-on. This will make things easier for you. Let's say I add another cube to use as cutter and then move it in the y-axis by pressing G and locking it by pressing Y. And scale it by pressing S and then move it inside the mesh again. If you have the Booltool add-on enabled, when you hold Shift and select both these objects, you can see the active mesh is bright in color and the other one is little bit dull orange-like color. Now if I press Ctrl and minus, it will apply the difference modifier. If I undo this and press Ctrl and plus, it will do the union modifier. If I undo that and press Ctrl and stop, now it does the intersect modifier. This add-on also adds the cutter into a different collection and then changes the visibility for the object to make it easier. Here is a diagram that shows how the modifiers work. Ignore my poor drawing skills. If these were the default mesh and this is your main and this is your cutter, the difference will give you a result like this. This portion will be subtracted and when you use intersect, the portion that is common will be remaining. The rest will be deleted. And when you use union, they will be welded at the intersection point, which is here and here, which means these things do not exist because they will be welded as a single object. In all these cases, the cutter object will be safe, nothing will be done to it. Now if I remove all these modifiers and hide the cutters, we can show you another neat feature from the Booltool's modifier. If you head to the edit mode, you can see a new feature called box carve. I will select the tilde key. It looks like this. It looks like this. And then it's below the escape bar. And then click on the right. Now choose the box carve. If you click and drag, you can now cut shapes into your mesh. While dragging, if you press Ctrl, it will snap to a face. If you hold Shift, it will restrict the shape to be a square. Now if you click on this tiny arrow below this, you can also select circle. The same applies here. You can press Ctrl to snap. You can press Shift to retain the shape of the circle. Likewise, there is polycarve. If you want to cut out a different shape other than the circle and the cube, you can use this polycarve to draw your own shape and then press enter. Thought these might come in handy, so I add them to this Boolean tutorial. Consider subscribing